Hi there, David here. Welcome to the channel, and also welcome back if you are a visitor for the second or more times, or if you're a subscriber. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about and there it is. A close-up of dinner looks like this. Hope you guys are feeling hungry. Well, all right, with those images, I think my job here is done, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Well, joking aside, they said an image says more than 1,000 words, and if that's the case, then I wonder how many words do you have on a video. But that's a bad joke. Let's move on. All right, so if you watched my video last week regarding the remission diet, how I stay in remission after 9 months, I had a couple of days menus, right? So this, if you will, is the second part of that, but I wanted to name it something different because it's not just kind of the same but capturing a different day. I call it weekend edition because that's what it is. It's a bit of giving myself permission to do something different, something that is not within the sort of strict weekday diet. So that's what I'm going to be covering today. I'm going to be sharing what I had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Saturday, but there's going to be not just sharing the meals, but it's going to be some analysis, some macronutrients, and other points that I'm going to mention right now. And then I'm going to you can call it benchmarks, right? 4 benchmarks or 4 points that I'm going to be mentioning, and then I'm going to compare that against the actual meals to see, okay, this is how I did, and if I have to make any changes moving forward. All right, so let's jump into the first benchmark, which is real food. Okay, I mentioned in other videos how important it is to eat real food, either zero processing or as little processing as possible. So I'm going to be comparing how my meal was against this benchmark. Okay, the second benchmark or point is going to be the size of the meals, right? I mentioned also in the past that ideally you want to have a big breakfast, an even bigger lunch, and a small dinner. So I'm going to see how my meals did for those 3 benchmarks for Saturday. Okay, then I'm going to see the macronutrients is the third benchmark or third point. Macronutrients, just in a simple way, are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And there's some percentages recommended. So I'm going to be seeing how I did on Saturday, being like a kind of a more lenient type of diet, but I'll see how I did against these macro ingredients. And the fourth actually benchmark or point, it's going to be variety. How I switched over for mental freshness, for just your body would be thankful if you keep some different ingredients, some different meals from time to time. So I'm going to be seeing how I did variety wise, how different was my diet compared to a regular weekly day-to-day diet. And I'm going to have a bonus here after we cover the benchmark comparison, which is alternatives, right? You might find some meals that for different reasons you don't like or you don't care. So I'm going to give you some options that you can try that might be more of your liking or your preference or sometimes even budget, right? So let's get started on the benchmark comparison. So I'm going to launch my app here. So first of all, starting with breakfast for that day, and give me a second here while my app gets ready. for Saturday, August the 6th. Here it is. So for August the 6th, I'm just going to mention very quickly, and then after I go through the 3 meals, then we'll do that comparison of the benchmarks. So for breakfast on Saturday, I had the CCGAL, the green juice that I was mentioning. So I started off with that cucumber, cannon, celery, carrot, not cannon, carrot, and different ingredients. You'll see that on somewhere on the screen as I'm speaking. So that was to start my breakfast. Then I had 1 scrambled egg only and some baked pinto beans, and then I kind of mixed it up on a plate. Then I had something that is not different compared to the week, which was 5 corn tortillas. I love tortillas, but you'll see in a moment that I had more than just the tortillas. Then I had a oatmeal, some gluten-free old-fashioned oatmeal. That's just what I had. I added some cinnamon and some raw honey. So that was breakfast for Saturday. Moving on to lunch, okay? And this is where things get a little crazy. So exciting or not, but that's where it's very different. So I had a caprese salad, which again, everything that I mentioned you probably would see on your screen. It's basically tomatoes with mozzarella cheese and some other minor ingredients. Then I had an Italian bread, garlic and herbs from the bakery at Walmart. Very delicious and healthy, so I had that to go along. And probably the craziest item that you're gonna hear me on this menu for the whole day, I had steak, okay? I have not had a steak for probably weeks or maybe months, okay? A beef ribeye steak. And it was a decent size, about 9 ounces, a bit more than half a pound, so not a small size. That was for dinner, and I had side dishes of chunky guacamole on the side and Spanish rice, okay? And I had more of the Italian bread, so a lot of bread going on with this lunch meal. And then another unexpected item probably is Stella Artois. I had a beer, Stella Artois, which I have very little beer, almost never. So I had one as well, and then I had a nectarine fruit, and some organic dairy-free, some cashew probiotic drink that I share in the past with you guys, and lime juice I also added to the steak just to wrap up the lunch ingredients or lunch meals that I had. And for the last meal of the day, which was dinner, which was rather small, I had that drink, like the shake, basically, the Absorb Plus with Vega, banana, and the milk, the Blue Diamond milk, not real milk, but Blue Diamond almond milk. So those are the 3 meals of the day, right? Which especially lunch was very large, very big. So now let's go to the exciting part, which is comparing the meals with the benchmarks, with the 4 items. So first item that I mentioned I was going to compare against, it's the real food. Other than the beer and possibly the mozzarella cheese with us just a bit of processing, everything else is pretty natural, right? Also the bread from Walmart, it wasn't done in the bakery, so pretty real, nothing really processed or processed. So I give myself a check for the first item, which is the real food, it's included, okay? Going on or moving on to the second item of the 4 that I want to touch, the size of the meals, okay? Yeah, you would be seeing here the calories of each meal, but even though lunch was kind of oversized compared to the other 2, breakfast was large or big, lunch was even bigger, and then dinner was small. So that's the proportion that I want to use, over 1,100 for breakfast in calories, over 2,000 or over 2,100, I believe, calories you would be seeing the screenshot for lunch, and just a bit over 400 for dinner. So a lot larger than maybe I would be taking on a regular basis for lunch, but again, it's I don't do that every day, but it still follows the proportion that is recommended. Lunch being large, breakfast being large, lunch being even larger, and then dinner being smaller. So with a bit oversized lunch, but it follows the recommendation of the size calorie wise of the 3 meals. Then the macronutrients, and I'm going to bring up here the graph for you guys to see it. I was mentioning the macronutrients are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And if you give me a second, let me scroll down to pull up the nutrients here, which you should be seeing on your screen. So recommended, or this is again based on MyFitnessPal, they recommend to do 50% in carbohydrates for the day. I had a 56%, just slightly over 6% in carbohydrates, primarily because those huge large pieces of bread or slices of bread. Then fat, they recommend 30%, okay, MyFitnessPal that is, and I had a 28%, so pretty in line, 2% under, so pretty in line. And then for protein, the recommendation is 20%, and I had 16%, okay, so pretty much in line. The carbohydrates was slightly over. I normally do a 5% higher or lower, under or over, as a good measurement. So I'm going to be a little lenient here and maybe cheat just a touch, and say I also give myself a check on this one, okay, because it's super close with the exception of carbohydrates. It's only 6% over than the recommendation, but again the others are slightly lower, so check for me as well. And the last item, which is the variety, and let me make sure it comes up here. Yeah, variety. So I added a few things that I normally don't have during the week, being the steak, being the beer, and the mozzarella. Kind of, I don't recommend to eat too much tomatoes because the citric acid, I mentioned this in a different video. But other than that, the 3 things that I added, that I just mentioned, do add variety. So do keep your fresh and your mental state, prevent you from going crazy, because if you eat the same every single day, including weekends, at one point it's not going to work. But I also give myself a check if that's what you're looking for, because I did add some differences. Again, your body, your mind does need some changes from time to time to, in this case, keep ourselves in remission, so you don't just go into like a super high sugar rush or sugar craving and eat things that are very unhealthy. So changing small things here and there are very useful. So out of the 4 items that I mentioned, the 4 benchmarks, check for all 4 of them, right? I know I cheated just a touch on the proportion of the macronutrients, but I think they're still within the little window for playing higher or lower. And the bonus is alternatives. Okay, so if you say are a vegan person or vegetarian and want to stay away from meat, no red meat, you can have pinto beans, you can have lentils, you can have lima beans, you can have green split peas. All these are great options to red beef or beef or meat in general, right? That's an option. Or if you actually do like fish but not red meat, salmon, it's a great option. Sardines or tuna are great options in case you don't want to eat meat, red meat, but want to eat fish or are okay with eating fish. All right, now for gluten or bread, things like that, there's all kind of gluten-free. If you have problem with gluten that you can find, I actually eat a lot of gluten-free tortillas just because that's how they make them. It's not necessarily that I ask for them that way. So there's options for that as well. And if you want to be 100% alcohol-free, well, have the green juice that I recommend for breakfast instead of any alcohol, right? And you'll be perfectly fine. So thank you for watching the video if you stayed till the end, and I will see you guys in the next video.